Hello from Bali. This is the podcast Pigeon of Peace, where we do discuss awesome skills of troubleshooters. Watch, listen, and check the description below for the details. Let's talk about adequacy, and let's start with the definition.
Adequacy is a very rare word which is used quite not often, and I learned this word after a short story which was given by my teacher, and it was about Confucius. It's okay to say Confucius?
Confucius, yes.
Confucius. Confucius was asked what he will do if he will become ruler, and he said, "First, I want to be sure that everything we name correctly, and then we could talk. And second, he was saying, I would explain to people which adequacy mean." And I was thinking, why? It was so far from the right wording, and suddenly it was an explanation. Adequacy is a main reason and main rule and main instrument how we could distinguish good and bad and everything else. And then I realized, yes, adequacy is quite important. For example, I came from the sunny situation and I am happy on my face, but you will be sad. If I would pretend that nothing happened, I am not adequacy man. Or for example, I will see that you trying to repair something with your truck and you're dirty and you have some blood on your hands, and I will say, come on, what are you doing? It's not important. Let's go to the swimming area. It would be not so advocacy. Or for example, we will think about something which will happen with our children or with our pets. They have some trouble with toys or with each other, and we will say, come on, they will manage themselves. No, advocacy means that you will measure your ability to help others and to be also empathetic.
And as you said, adequacy could be a good tool, but when we look at it as the one thing, and then when we look at the common sense, how exactly they could mix and match, and like whether the one actually could become another.
You know, it's very pity to say common sense, because I was trying at one point to write something in my article. It was like 25 years ago, and I was looking translation from the Russian words, and maybe you will support me. In Russian language, it looks much understandable. So in English, it's just common sense. It's almost nothing. But in Russian, it's pronounced like healthy sense. Healthy, it means that it's take into account some conditions. Common, it's just average. It's like zero. It's like stable, like basement. But healthy, it's mean above the basement, something higher, something more preferable. So common sense sometimes will help, but also you should use critical thinking. So advocacy is something between critical thinking and also common sense. Common sense will help you behave as you used to. These rules were given by society, by your neighbors, by your relatives, by your parents, but sometimes you will work in company or you will meet people in higher society, and they have another rules and they have another achievements and also kudos and so on.
And when we look into adequacy, as you said, like in a different layers, or maybe in a different layers, I do remember we also had this conversation in one of the previous podcasts. You also said there is like a truth and, like the real thing, the reality. So whether adequacy is also might be, like has certain grades. Let's say for some person, let's say killing animals would be quite adequate, while for someone else, it's actually could be really inadequate. So how exactly this mixes and matches with the cultures, with the context?
You know, it's also about habits. I will give you several examples. I have some friends which make a lot of posting in Instagram and some other network, and sometimes they make photos with in business class of the plane, and they're saying we have such a good life. And I usually, when I saw it, I'm so ashamed, because I used to fly with business class all the time, maybe last 35 years. I will never do photos. for me, it's same like do photo in water closet or to make it in business class or in restaurant. It's just usual life. For example, when I was living in Kiev and I was traveling to Moscow, for sure, in some places I would make marking or I will make posting, for example, big theater or maybe some circus on the colored boulevard. It's okay to say, or maybe Цветной бульвар is better.
Цветной бульвар is better.
Цветной бульвар, thank you. So because I would be there not such often, or for example, my favorite basin or sauna, it's okay to say about сандуны, sauna or баня? Sauna. So, but if people will mark something very usual for you and they will say that they have a luxury life, it's quite strange. Second, for example, I have been working with a company who were producing bags, women bags in China. And they were producing bags for Birkin, Hermès, and some Gucci, Prada, and something else. This company, okay, I won't name it, but it's Italian one. And suddenly I realized that some bags price depends just from the name which would be put on this logo, and I was so ashamed. So it was very strange. Then Prada and some other logo which I wouldn't pronounce, they have completely same glasses, completely same shoes, but with different logo. I couldn't believe. And then I was going to other places. For example, I have been to Madagascar, and there is several huge factories which produce T-shirts, and they have huge pails with polo, crocodile, and some other Hugo Boss and some other logos, even Armani. And I have a chance to check. It was the same material, but it was different logo. At this point, it's quite a good time to ask, are we adequate when we pay, for example, for bag, which price in material would be like $50, we pay like 15,000 euros.
Well, and the moment we have baseline, at least we have some sort of like a signal that we can distinguish from those. We also might be encountering in our life people who actually, like would be a little far from being adequate. And depending on their position, on their maybe roles in our life, like how exactly we should build the interactions with them. Should we just like tell them the truth? Should we just, tell them like what is the adequacy, or vice versa, because it could be, like clients or whatever. So this is the last thing that they want to hear. So how to maneuver between all of this to make sure, like you will achieve what exactly you wanted.
It was a time I was traveling by plane from Maldives, and suddenly it was a dead man on the board. One girl suddenly screamed and said, "My neighbor is dead." And it was a small movement, and stewards, they were coming, checking the pulse, and our plane was boarded back. But several people at this time started to make screaming, "We will lose our flight from the next point," something from Qatar or something like this, Doha. And I was thinking, are they adequate? You want to sit like, I don't know, 6 hours or 7 hours with that person? Is it quite usual for you? Second, it would be also about plane. I was flying. I couldn't remember. It maybe was Astana or Almaty. It was a drunk man. He was quite close to me, and suddenly he wanted to enter out. He was saying, "Oh, come on, I have nothing. I have no air to breathe. Could you please open?" I don't know how to say. Форточка?
Eliminator, yeah.
Could we open eliminator? And it was quite a good answer from the steward. The woman said, "Okay, I will open, but not in this cabin, but in another one. We have ability to open, but not for everyone." And suddenly he came, "Okay, I have opened it." And this man was saying, "Oh, come on, it's quite good." And sometime I will see people with very strange position. For example, I will say about bloggers. With my wife, we have in the middle of the Moscow dentistry, and sometimes we have visitors, very famous people, and they will say, "Come on, can you bleach our teeth? It's okay to отбеливание. Bleach
or whiten.
Light, thank you, or whiten." And for example, our doctors will say, "Come on, but you have several cavity, caries, cavity."
cavity or caries.
You have several careers, for example, like 7 or even 12, and they will say, come on, but no one would see them. But if I would make my teeth white, it would be noticeable. And at this point, I think, how? But you have a bad smell of your breath, and you destroy your teeth. And so at some point of time, you couldn't use them, and you will be take them out, and you will be forced to pay much more money. And the same, for example, would be when people do not change the oil in the engine. I have a friend of mine in another town of Russia, and he has a small shop, a car shop, and sometimes he will send me with smile some photo, and it was photo like several years ago. A man bought some kind of average price car and never changed the oil. And when he came to my friend, this oil became, I don't know how to say, like pudding. So it will not follow out after he opened the I don't know how to say, крышка, пробка.
Just a cup.
When he opened the cup, he was using spoon to take it out.
Well, and then maybe, like if we go back to ourselves, at certain point of time, we might be, knowing that, okay, might be like a pros and cons in certain situation, or we've been doing something for a long time. I do believe there is this word that I've heard in English. It's called like a brain fog, like as if you have like a fog inside of your brain, like a smoke or whatever. So you can't really understand. Maybe you feel like you've been sleepy, and while you awake, and like could be like a sleeping through your life, through your relationship, through your business, through your career, but yet you cannot get out. So how to actually, maybe I'll use another example, how to open the door in the flying plane to actually get out, get rid of all the smoke, and like see things as they are.
You remind me some funny joke which is made about Slavonic people. When you will stay, for example, in America or in Europe, you will never open the window to make fresh air in the room because it would be costly. But Slavonic people, in the middle of the low temperature frost, they will open the window to make air fresh. And sometimes it would lead to, for example, death of fishes in aquarium or some plants or on the, I don't know how to say, подоконник. Window
Probably
shelf.
window lane. Yeah.
Window lane, thank you. And so sometime when you try to do something, you will break another. There is another example I will explain on the course of etiquette. For example, your mother will ask you to give her a fur coat, and you will make it gratefully, but at some point of time, you will fall her favorite vase and it would broke down. So what is better? Do not help to the mother or do not break the vase. And advocacy is to understand all consequences which would follow after your actions. And sometimes, yes, we have quite smoky heads. For example, we think about something small and we forget about something very big.
Well, and then my last question will be how knowing about adequacy would help to make this world a better place.
In relations, sometimes you have your own rules. For example, how to put towel, how to put soap, or maybe shampoo on something else. And you want to every other person to remind, please put this soap on the space. And it's almost вечный вопрос.
Eternal, permanent.
Internal, thank you. Internal question. You want to be happy or you want to be right? And there is another phrase which I like a lot: happy wife, happy life. If I could make my wife happy, I should use the chance. For example, sometimes my wife asked me, can you please buy this bag? And to be honest, my wife has like maybe almost 200 lady bags, and they fill all our I don't know how to say, shelves, yes?
Wardrobes.
And sometimes when he asked me to buy another one, I know exactly that we have maybe 3 or 4 the same of them, but I know that he would be happy. This is not about bag. This is about забота, cares.
Yeah, cares or tenderness.
It's about cares. So never think what you do. Think what people will feel after your action.
And we review the skill of adequacy and how it could be helpful to you. Stay in peace.